to the RunRX podcast, where we talk about all things running. As many runners know, it's 90% mental. So join Coach Valerie and Coach Caroline as we go through the mental side of running. Welcome back to the RunRX podcast. I'm your host, Coach Caroline, and I'm here with Coach Valerie. Coach, we've had a couple of people come in since the new year. I don't usually do a big push in January because everybody does a push. We'll kind of do a little bit of a push in February. But what was interesting is the people that came in at the end of December and January, we've had a couple of people come back and say, oh, this was just too much. This is too much for me. And I thought that was very funny. And I kind of wanted you to answer that question. Is this too much? And what do you really expect from runners when they come into RunRX? What are you asking them to do?
Um, I think the challenge for runners when they first come in is that we still always go back to most of us have never actually worked on our running. And so we're very comfortable with like, here's a stretch to do, or even a strength exercise. Like I see this all the time, like this 3 top strength or 3 top stretches. And when you actually come into us, we're actually going to have you work on your running, like how you hold yourself in your run, the action of running. And here's the challenge, guys. Every practice segment is 5 minutes or less. All I
Right.
ask for people, honestly, is 5 minutes. But to
Mm-hmm.
spend the 5 minutes focused, in all of the practice you can do inside your house. You don't actually have to go running. So I think a big part of it is one, I have to open my mind. And then the second part, it's like just that getting started. Maybe when you open it and you think, oh, I actually have to get started, right? Just like most people, I don't know, I guess they're fitness programs. And what's interesting is like most running plans, all the starting is just go run, right?
Right.
And the challenge with us is we want you to run. We really want you to run, and we want you to run really well and really efficiently. And so it's interesting, right? Because the exercises we're giving you are really simple and straightforward. It's so for me, by the way, I always think this, when someone sees it and they think I want to say it's because they're not really ready yet.
Right.
Because the reality is the fun part of what we're doing and helping you with, it's going to help you with standing and sitting and walking and running. So the exercises are actually, they're so good for you. But the challenge, I think, like starting, like maybe like starting a diet, you're like, I'm not really ready to write down everything I eat today, or whatever your first day is.
Absolutely. And so that's what's kind of interesting is it kind of goes both ways. We only give you 5 minutes, right? We try to get you started, but then we have people that think that that 5 minutes isn't enough. So
Well,
how do you
sure.
handle that?
Um, well, because if you actually go through the immersion, the practice exercise that I give you is about 5 minutes, and I actually recorded them with the thought of just do it also with me. You can watch it, but listen and try to feel what I'm saying. Like, and we start by just standing still, like we're just standing in place. And so I think the challenge is again, if I'm a runner, my first thought might be, well, this makes no sense. Why is she having me stand here?
Right, right.
And what they have to understand is, the first thing in running, there's 3 elements of running. So there's your running pose. And we use the word pose because it's a particular pose. And so we teach you that, like a yoga pose.
Yeah.
And yes, it's very postural. People like to use that word, but we just say pose because it's the running pose. Like the downward dog is a yoga pose. So this is your running pose. And what's great is like when we show you your running video, when you first come in and bring your gait analysis, we show you here is your current running pose. All we're going to do is help you make that more efficient. And most people get excited, I think, when they're like, okay, I'm going to see this positive change. And then we say, well, just remember, it starts with how you're actually standing. That's why we start with standing. And then we progress every day. The idea, though, is that I have on there, go practice.
Right.
I want you to. I want you to go move. What I want you to try to avoid though is keeping in the beginning your initial running volume because otherwise it's very hard to hold a new movement pattern. So I encourage people to take your new run out for a practice, but instead of, it's like a, you know, people will say, don't wear your brand new shoes the day of the race. Go out and do a few
Yeah.
test miles in them, right? So don't
Right.
don't take your running form out for your regular run. So the way we encourage you to do it is you do the practice whenever you want, whatever 5 minutes it takes you. Then you go out and you practice. And I'd say go out there for 10 to 30 minutes. But I want you to just practice, run a little, stop and reset, do a drill. And what happens to everybody is as they progress, all of a sudden they're back to their running volume, but now they're running with their new run. And the challenge is those first couple of weeks where people think, I've never thought
Yeah.
about I've never thought about my running. Now I can't just go running because I'm stuck in my head. And I'm like, I know. That's why if you follow the process, I promise you that it works. And what's great, guys, is I'm on year 30, really,
Yeah. Yeah.
of doing this. And 25 years studying with the guy that created this. And like just yesterday, I met a brand new person, introduced her to this. Now, she'd never heard of it. But the last time she tried to run, she didn't just get a shin splint, she actually broke the leg. She broke her
Oh my
fibula.
God.
And she was an athlete, and a collegiate athlete, and she had a similar break in college, and her coach told her to run through it.
Oh Lord.
That's your favorite. So
Yeah.
she didn't. She actually quit running and she switched to playing a different sport. So as she got back into running, she's like, all I do is keep re injuring that same area. Like my shin will start to hurt. Then I have this fear that I'm going to break my leg again. And of course, that's a fear, right? So
Right.
she's never heard of what I teach, anything. However, when I took her through her lesson yesterday, by the end of it, she was so excited. I've never felt like this when I've run. I've never felt how light my feet could feel. This feels amazing, right? And that's in an hour of just practice and
Mm-hmm.
just putting her in the right position, teaching her the right action, the pulling action, and then taking her upper body and putting it where it's supposed to be. So many people have no idea that they're either leaning forward or back just because they don't know. They're not filming themselves or paying attention. So when I can show you how to put yourself in alignment and I put you there and you can feel it, even just for a few steps. I never let her run more than 10 steps, guys. She now
Right.
has hope. And now she knows in order to be able to hold this, I'm just going to do what Valerie says, and I'm just going to practice these movements. But I told her same thing. Go practice for 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes if you want to, right? I give it
Right.
to you as a 5-minute practice. You want to take it further, great. And take it out one day and just drill a little, run a little, walk, stop, think, like
Mm-hmm.
let yourself kind of be in your mind and body. And all of a sudden, I don't ever want to say you're thinking less, guys, but what starts to happen is you're not thinking about the movement as much. It becomes just how you run. But I promise you, most people up until now haven't thought about how they run, they just go run. So once you open your mind that it's going to feel better, you're going to have better movement. I think that's what helps you continue the practice.
So when someone comes in and they look at the portal, and right now we have it kind of separated out where you do drills, then you give some self care, and then a couple times a week we do strength. Do you think it's because they're seeing multiple things at a time where that is what makes people mentally say, wow, this is so much? Or is it just that the idea that we want you to do something pretty much every day?
I it's hard to answer that because if I was the student, the way I did it, it's a rotation, right? It's like a
Right,
drill, a strength. And guys, strength for us is like core and hip strength for running. So again, it's not like a weight set of 3 sets of 10. It's nothing like that. But this is what I love. And this is where people need to get to. Most runners come in so disconnected. They shut off when they run. They play music,
right,
they watch their watch, they listen to their gadgets, right? My heart rate is
right,
my watch says to run at this heart rate at this zone, and I'm going to listen to my music and whatever. They're not really connecting with their movement or with their body. It's just the way most people run. I used to run like that. And then all of a sudden I'm asking you to stand and feel and connect. And I think a
right.
little bit And what's interesting, like the same person, if they came to the gym, and this is what I always think about, if you same person came to the gym, there's no way they've never been to the gym before. And I'd be like, all right, guys, we're doing heavy deadlifts.
Right.
Go for it. You know what I mean? Have fun. Pick up a barbell. I don't care how you do it. Pick up as much weight as you can and just go for it. It's just a strange thought to me, right? And
Right.
they would actually
Right.
be like, hey, could you please show me how to set up, put me in the right position, teach me the action, and make sure I'm doing it right? Like, that's what I've
Hmm.
done my whole life for people. So running's no different. And I think there's a weird self consciousness with it because we're not normally supposed to learn how to run. Your coach is like, go run. And then if you not run well, run more. Keep
Right.
running. If you just keep running, you're just going to keep getting better at it. And there was a study recently that showed the fastest marathoners in the world run the most. And I'm like, really? Like, that's a study. I mean,
Yeah.
the people that are best at running run the most. Well, obviously. So, when I read that, I thought, the challenges. And so they kept saying that the average marathon time's just getting slower. The recreational runner is not running faster, only the super elites, the super shoes, the top people. And it's because no one in the middle or the back of the pack is getting running instruction. They're not doing drills, they're not doing work that's actually helping them with their run. They're not being taught, here's how you run. That's the only way you get better at something, is if you know how it is you're supposed to do it. And yeah, it's awkward for a couple of weeks and then it's fine. That's the challenge. You got to get over that. Yes, it's a little bit awkward. Yes, it's going to feel funny. And so what?
Right.
And then once it doesn't, I promise you it doesn't. Because the coolest part about what we teach, guys, is that you actually have a natural blueprint for running. Running is absolutely natural. However, most of us over the years haven't been using that natural blueprint. That's just the way it goes. So you're just kind of
Hmm.
actually going back to your own natural movement. You just have to be willing to put in a little bit of awkward time.
Yeah. So if you're like the people that have been kind of, poking around, looking to come into the membership, it's basically a monthly fee. You come in, you take a look. If you're like some of these people where they were like, oh, this is too much, they just canceled and then they're good to go. If you want to come in and give it a try, though, you can cancel anytime. If you cancel right away, like one person just said, I can't do this, and he hadn't sent anything in, and it's within like 7 days and you haven't sent in a gait analysis, we'll give you your money back. But I've had other people come in and they try it for a month and then they'll cancel. That's fine too. But most people, if you give yourself the time to practice and really get in, they stay with us 3 or 4 months, and some actually switch over to an annual membership. We would love to have you. So go to runrx.fit, that's RUN.FIT, and click the Work with RunRX button. Thanks, guys.
Thank you for joining us on the RunRX podcast. If you'd like to know more, join us at www.runrx.fit. And if you have additional questions that you'd like answered on the podcast, email us at support@runrx.fit.